Anyway, just to give you guys a heads up.
The advisory committee meeting will begin at 1 p.m. We will be beginning shortly. Thank you for joining us. We will be beginning shortly. As a reminder, this webcast is being recorded. You may get a copy of the recording on the DFBI Debt Collection Advisory Committee's public page. Your microphone has been muted and video disabled and will remain so for the duration of this webinar. If you have questions or comments, you can submit them via the chat function in Zoom. During the public comment period, microphones can be unmuted for comments.
Okay, sorry. Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending our DFPI Advisory Committee meeting. I was just trying to throw out the date. I already forgot. So it looks like we're on November 6th meeting. For our opening remarks, we are going to start with Suzanne Martindale. So I will turn it over to her. And I do want to point out we have a slight difference in our agenda. It appeared it did not get updated. So we will have opening remarks with Suzanne. We will then turn it over to a representative from legal to discuss our regulations, and then we're going to do our program update. So slight switch between item 2 and 3.
All right, thank you, Melinda. With that, I'm happy to kick us off for the afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Suzanne Martindale. I'm the Senior Deputy Commissioner for Consumer Financial Protection here at the department. Very pleased that you could all join us today as we talk about how we're making progress on our ongoing implementation of the Debt Collection Licensing Act. We have a lot of updates. There's a lot of work going on at our department, just so you know, behind the scenes, as we continue to build out our expanded authorities under this law and related legislation. And now the governor signed yet another licensing bill this year, so we got even more new stuff to build. So of course, as I probably said more than once at these meetings, you know, bear with us as we are seeking to implement sweeping, expanded authorities under recent legislation. And of course, this is one of our very important new programs. And so we really welcome your honest insights and feedback. We do have some updates for you all, so there will be some presentation, but we do want to make sure that we preserve a good amount of time for some back and forth, for some dialogue. We appreciate your experience and expertise in advising this department as we continue to refine and mature our debt collection licensing program. And so with that, I will keep my remarks brief, and I will do as Melinda instructed me, which is to turn it over to Emily Gallagher, who's a senior counsel in our legal division, who will provide a regulations update. With that, Emily.
Thank you, Suzanne. Hi, everyone. So I have just a short update. The scope regulations that we have been working on are going to be released here very shortly. They're with our admin team, so you should see that soon. And I do want to mention that one thing you won't see in them is the section on records retention that you're going, or I'm sorry, on annual reports. The annual report section is going to be released in a separate rulemaking, which, you know, you'll see notice of as appropriate. And then we're also open to doing a third rulemaking for issues that are not addressed in the scope regulations that you feel are on other topics or other issues you think have come up. So we're open to that option as well. That's all I have. So with that, I will turn it over to Melinda for program updates.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I just wanted to make sure to let the committee know that once the rulemaking package does come out and it has time to have some comments, we will have another meeting so that you'll be able to be able to have a broader discussion about the actual rulemaking package. So we are looking at having a meeting probably in January, which, you know, we don't have them quite that close, but anyway, there will be more information on that once the actual rulemaking package goes out and we have more timeframes, because we want to make sure we give you guys enough time to thoroughly review the package before providing comments and responses to us. So, but just to give you a heads up that we are planning on doing another meeting in conjunction with the rulemaking package. So now before I jump into my part, I do want to say for the committee members, You are welcome to raise your hand and ask questions during our presentation. The public, you are not able to do that till the public comment period at the end. But if any of the committee members would like to, if you could raise your hand while we're doing the presentation. And then also please be, prior to speaking, if you could introduce yourself, because this is our second time with you guys. So just to make sure everyone knows everyone else, if when you start talking, if you could please introduce yourself. And that will also be with the members of my team. Before they start speaking, they'll introduce themselves too. So we are in our third fiscal year of our implementation process. And as you all know, we have had a number of hurdles to overcome. So some of our processes have been slower to get developed. The screen currently shows you some of what's been accomplished so far. So what we've kind of done in the past. And that so today what we want to discuss is really to focus on what's going to be happening in our next fiscal year, or more so the next 2024. So it will be myself and the three financial institutions managers are going to go over each of the sections that are listed under our future heading up there, and discuss our next steps of implementation. But before we delve into that, I'm going to pass it to Unju, and she's going to talk about where we are right now with our application review.
Thank you, Melinda. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Unju Chagoya, and one of the financial institution manager in the debt collectors program here at DFPI. Our entire staff has been working tirelessly to process the application since September 1st of 2021 and started to approve conditional licenses since January 1st of this year. I'd like to share quick updates on the progress that we have been made so far. So as of November 1st of this year, we have received a total of 1,542 applications. Of those, 1,127 applications have been processed. This includes 935 applications that have been conditionally approved, as well as applications that have been either withdrawn or abandoned. So the difference in numbers between approved, bless you, are those withdrawn and the abandoned. The backlog of 327 applications are those that are filed during the grace period, and they're still waiting to be processed. We're currently working very hard to process them as they are our first priority. Since anyone who have filed their application this year are not supposed to do business prior to the receiving approval, we look at each application and immediately assign those so that they are not unduly delayed. This makes our total backlog 405 applications at this moment. In addition to companies' applications and licenses, there are a total of 740 branch registration requests, and this includes both approved and pending registrations. As you could see, we've got quite a number of companies and branch locations, and let's take a look at where they are located at. Next slide, please. This map shows the location of the companies, and as you could see, they are concentrated in 7 countries. 98% of the companies are located predominantly in the North America, especially US, and there are a few presence in Asia, Europe, and South America. If you look at US alone, although they're spread out across the country, only 36% of the companies are located in California, and 64% of them are located outside of the California. Next slide, please. On the other hand, branch location shows more diversified global positioning. as they are spread out approximately 20 different countries. But they still exhibit strong dominance in the US. So we are on our final stretch to finish our application review, and we really appreciate everyone's participations and cooperations. We are asking for your continued support to build our robust regulatory system. Thank you. And now I'm handing it over to Lisa Medina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Medina, and I am also one of the financial institutions managers with the debt collection program. And I'm going to be discussing the DocuNet portal account, registering a designated email, and the annual report. So licensees will be filing their annual report through the portal, and we will be communicating with licensees using the designated email address. And we're talking about this today because of our 935 licensees, only 60% have requested a portal account. So all licensees should have received an email with instructions for registering a portal account and providing a designated email. But I'm going to go over the registration process. So there's 2 steps to this process. In step 1, you're going to register for the portal account. So you're going to go, as you can see on the screen, to the website at the top, docunet.dfpi.ca.gov. And then you're going to get to this landing page where then you're going to click on Register Now, which is designated by the number 1 in the right-hand corner of the screen. And then you're going to follow the prompts and you're going to submit your request. And now our staff is going to activate your portal account. So this can take up to 5 business days, and then you will receive an email confirming that your account has been activated. So once your portal account is activated, then you're going to complete step 2. And this is where you're going to provide the designated email address. So you're going to go to that same website, docunet.dfpi.ca.gov, and now you're going to click on the sign in, which is designated by the number 2. And you're going to use the username and password that you created when you registered for a portal account. And then you're going to click on the designated emails, and then you're going to follow the prompts to provide your designated email. So if you have registered for either a portal account or a designated email, but you have not received any confirmations, there are a couple of common errors that we're seeing. And one is that the organization name does not match the name that's in NMLS. And then the second error is that the debt collector license type has not been checked. So if you have not received confirmation, please sign in and confirm that your organization name matches what's in NMLS and that the debt collector license type has been checked. And if you need detailed instructions for the designated email process, you can go back to that same web address, and in the lower right-hand corner, there are the instructions that you can click on the link, and there are detailed instructions there. So as I mentioned, the annual report is going to be filed through the portal account.
Lisa?
Yes.
I'm going to stop you and answer a question that came in.
Sure.
The question is, how do we have multiple staff members register to the portal? You can have multiple people register, but the point of a designated email is that it is a single email address. So you want to have a generic email address because we send it to a single address. So in the instructions, it will talk about setting up a generic email address that goes to does not go to an individual. It goes to your company that multiple people would have access to. So that's how you have multiple people being able to see what we're sending. It's handled more at your end. So if that does not answer your question, you can send it to our inquiries box, but there should be in the instructions on the webpage. It talks about the email how it should be set up. So not just how to set it up in the portal, but what are the requirements for the actual email address. Okay, Thank you, Lisa.
Sure. Okay, so the annual report, it's going to be filed through the portal account. So it's going to be the same account that you created for your designated email address. You do not need to have a separate account for this. So all licensees licensed as of December 31st, 2023 will be required to file an annual report. And the report is going to be due March 15th, 2024. So the information in the annual report is going to be directly input into our system. So what's showing on the screen right now is a draft of what's going to be required. So you will be asked to input your identifying information and the items requested per financial code, section 100,021A. This is the information that we're requesting, which is showing up on your screen. And then we're going to be asking 2 additional questions. And those are, do you accept payment in digital currency? And then how many full-time equivalent employees you have? We're not going to be asking about net proceeds since it requires a definition to be established in regulation first. And we are going to be providing instructions for the annual report, and our communication is going to be sent to the designated email address. So if you haven't done so already, please register for a portal account and then provide a designated email address. And if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to turn it over to Herb.
Thank you, Lisa. So my name is Herb Thompson. I'm one of the financial institutions managers. So there are 2 distinct processes that we're going to be implementing: examinations and investigations. Examinations are somewhat routine in nature, while investigations generally based on a precipitating event or red flag. Go back one. So we have begun to conduct examinations and anticipate ramping up the frequency. Beginning in 2024, we can conduct completely remote, hybrid, or on-site examinations, but that will largely depend on the agency's risk profile, scope of the examination, and the ability of the agency to provide access to information in a reasonable time frame and a manner conducive to us completing our review. The way we will be scheduling examinations for the near future is a combination of random sampling and overall risk profile. Additionally, as a member of NACARA and involvement with the State Coordinating Committee, we will participate in multi-state examinations with the CFPB, as well as other joint examinations with other states. We will also look to expand our department's capacity into conducting joint examinations with other programs to lessen the burden on licensees that hold multiple licenses with our department. Our goal is to provide 30 days advance notice for full scope examinations, and by law, we are required to invoice for time and related travel expenses. So our goal is to also implement the use of CSBS's state examination software in 2024 and transition our examinations to that system. Licensees will be issued a report of examination that detail our findings, recommendations, and any additional follow-up actions that may be required. Next slide, please. So as I previously stated, investigations are based on a precipitating event or red flag. There will be a specific reason, including but not limited to a complaint, notification from outside of our department, or a request from another regulatory agency. It could be related to a specific consumer account or a specific area of focus, such as furnishings, for example. The items we request will relate to the reasons why we are conducting the investigation. Investigations are generally shorter in nature since we have a specific area of focus. Additionally, we do not charge for associated time or travel expenses when conducting an investigation. However, investigations, depending on the severity of the findings, may lead to a full scope examination or referral to enforcement for legal action. Investigations in themselves may result in a simple verbal or written conclusion. If there are no questions, I'll hand it back over to Melinda.
And so In September, SB 152 passed, which included the language that allows our department to do the criminal background checks through the NML, facilitated by the NMLS system. So our implementation of this is that in January and February of 2024, we will set up the system so they can be completed in NMLS. We will train our staff and basically prepare to get this done. In March, everyone will be notified and instructions to all the applicants and licensees when we go live. So we don't know the exact date, but sometime in early March, the system will actually go live. If you already have approved background checks in NMLS that have not expired yet, then you can use those. You will not need to do new background checks, but it's based on the NMLS requirements on your fingerprints. All applicants will receive, and licensees will receive, the initial notice, because even if you already have fingerprints on file, you will still need to go into the system and allow us access to them. So you'll have to go in and click a box saying that we have access to them, so that in April, we are at that point going to put a bulk license item. So we are going to put a license item on everyone who has not given us access at that point, to make sure that they either get their fingerprints in, or if they already have them, that they grant us access. Everyone will have 90 days to complete this. So we are giving an additional 30 days longer than what we normally do to complete a license item. And I do want to remind everyone that the notification does not go out to every MU2 filer. It goes out to your normal notification that you would get for a license item. So it is very important that that information is shared with the MU2 filers, so that they have plenty of time and can complete the process within the 90-day period. And the completion date, so our final due date will be June 30th. And then now going forward, for all new applicants, once we get it set up, so after next March, as of March, all new applicants will be completing this process prior to applying, so that we will no longer be doing all of the conditional licensing like we have now. It will be everyone will be immediately licensed, and we won't have to go through this process. Okay, and then we'll get to our last topic. So assessment. Oh, we have a question. Angela?
Yes, this is Angela Rebecca from Equably. In regards to the bill that was just passed for the background checks, could you just remind all of us who California now requires to have that background check on? Because, you know, each state is a little bit different in the requirements for NMLS, and so who's all required?
I'll have someone, if Herb, could you possibly look that up and cut and paste that into the chat? It did not change. Our requirements did not change, by the way. So it is the same people, and in general, I can give you, it's the direct owners, indirect owners, executive officers, qualifying individuals, which that terminology is slightly different. I know for other states on what we consider qualifying individual, but our qualifying individual would be people who are specifically in charge of the debt collection activity at a more managerial level, that are setting policies, processes, things like that. So not people that are qualifying individuals are not your line people that are actually doing it. It's the more of a decision maker who is not a executive officer. And if you do have any questions about if someone meets that level, then that would be something you can talk to with our team, and we can, it's more of a case by case basis. I will say it's normally just for larger companies that have divisions or things like that. And then of course the branch managers, but I'll have Herb, if you could look that up, cut and paste it into the chat, I would appreciate it. And Scott?
Yes, Melinda, thank you. Sort of a quick question, coming back to the pending applications question. Given some passage of time for many applicants since they originally submitted their application, particularly before the, we'll call it the safe harbor of the end of last year. Companies change, they reorganize, they move things around internally. What is the best way to explain to the department or to address those changes in corporate structure while an application is pending?
You actually they handle it the same way. So even while it's still pending, they would still do amendments or advanced change notices, or well, those are the two categories. But if they're changing control people, any of that, that's all, you still do that. And then as we look at the applications, we take that in consideration as we're still reviewing them, and it is something that we check to see if there was any changes. We do a double check prior to actually approving them to make sure that we are up to date. There are some things if someone's not going to do, if they're telling us like an advanced change notice and it's going to be 30 days from now or something, we might go ahead and approve it then and then have them do something afterwards, so we're not holding up the approval. But in most cases, we will let whatever's happening finish and then we approve. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any more questions before we move on? Then the assessment. So I know a lot of people want to know when we're going to do the assessment. The big question mark is because at this point, we still do not have a definitive answer. The assessment is based on net proceeds. Net proceeds is a term that must be defined in rulemaking. It is in the rulemaking package that Emily talked about, that is in the process of going out for, it is in the one that Emily, one of the ones that Emily mentioned. She did not actually say when it was going out. It should be going out for comment, maybe not as immediately, but within the next few weeks. But until that has gone through the process of approval, we cannot actually do an assessment. So it is something that is a little bit out of our control as far as how quickly it goes through the process. And so whether or not we will have an approved definition by next July. So in time to do an assessment next year. We are not sure at this point, but I mean, the earliest that we could do one would be in 2024, which would be for the 24-25 fiscal year. So at this point, there is still a, there's still a chance that it could go either way, that we do it next year, or if it has to wait till the year after. But we will only, the assessments by law, we invoice in September, and then they're due by the end of the year. So that is the only time that we actually do assessments. So we would not be assessing at any other time frame. Cindy?
Cindy Auckland with States Recovery Systems. I just had a quick question, I think, because there's a little bit of confusion. So the annual report that is in draft right now, because it does not address net proceeds, is there a proposed revision that is going to be coming through the rulemaking process to that form where licensees have to resubmit data? Or what is the purpose and how is this report going to be used by the department?
Yeah, so it does, the report itself, we will not add, when we need to add net proceeds to the annual report, it does not require any legislation. It's actually already in law that we could ask for it. We are not choosing to ask for it this year because we don't have a definition. So we could not rely on that data. So the information that we are requesting this year is what is required by law for us to request. And it is data that we look at to do industry analysis. It is we usually do a consolidated report. I'm not sure if we'll do one this first year, but we will definitely do one the second year of a consolidated industry report that is normally available on our website for all the different annual reports for all the different programs. So that information does not directly correlate like the net proceeds does to the assessment. This is just general information that is required by DCLA to turn in.
Okay, so can I double back on that?
Yeah.
So once the definition comes out, I want to make sure that I understood this correctly. Once the definition comes out through rulemaking, then licensees would have to submit that data to the department if it fits within the guidelines and we make all of the numbers work before the September deadline, then the assessment would apply for this calendar year. And if we cannot get the rulemaking process and the definition set, then it would carry to the following year?
Correct. So if it did get approved and we were able to do the assessment and all the timing went smoothly, we would do, the commissioner has the ability to request to do, special requests for information. So it would be that way. It would not be part of the annual report process. We would do a one-time special request for the net proceeds. That's how it would work if we do the assessment next year. And we would know, we would have a fairly good idea sometime in June if the timing was working. But it's, like I said, at that point, it's totally out of our control. We no longer have control over the approval process once it leaves our department.
Got it. Follow-up question. So is this an item with regards to the definition of net proceeds that you are seeking feedback from this committee, the advisory committee, for before you go out to rulemaking? Or is the committee supposed to respond to rulemaking and then we piggyback in January? What do you need from us as a committee?
Okay, so the rulemaking, the net proceeds has already gone out to comment twice, has gone to informal comment twice, and with the prior committee group, which you were part of, we did request input specifically from the committee members at one point also. So it already has had two different informal comment periods. So the next time it goes out to comment period, it will go out for formal comment. It is not specifically the one I was referring to as far as talking about it in January. That's the one that's going out for informal comment period again. So you would still have an opportunity during the formal comment period to respond back. But we're trying to get that one done by the end of the year. Once again, not sure if it will go out, but that's the, Suzanne, did you want to expand? I just noticed you popped up.
Yeah, I just want to, there are many moving parts here. So as I said at the top of the call, bear with us, right? We have our department, and this is across the department, has had substantially increased workload associated with moving regulations across multiple programs. And we have to follow the rules of administrative procedure, but then slows everything down and we have approvals up the chain. So I want to make sure that people are tracking what's coming next. Emily talked about how we are advancing another round of invitations to comment on the kind of scoping questions. Who is required to get a license because they're engaged in the business of debt collection? A previous version of that language also included the draft provisions related to net proceeds. Procedurally, and to be a little more efficient, particularly because the definition of net proceeds is so mission critical for our program stand up, we're breaking that piece off. So now we're going to have a standalone regulatory package, which is what Melinda's talking about, to propose a definition of net proceeds against which we will be able to calculate assessments. And that piece, just the net proceeds piece, we're going to move forward separately toward formal rulemaking, which puts us on a 1-year clock. And we're doing that so that we can get to a resolution more quickly to provide you all with clarity about what you need to submit to us so that we can implement the assessment aspect of our program. So that is now going to be on a separate track from the broader policy package that Emily mentioned, where we'll be clarifying the scope and limits of the jurisdiction and who's engaged in the business of debt collection. So that will be a separate track. So I want you to be aware that in the coming weeks, you're going to see 2 different sets of communications about this. Again, a definition of net proceeds that's being broken off from the bigger package, proceeding to formal rulemaking. And we do welcome any and all comments, inputs about what you think that definition should be. And then separately, you will see that other package about scope of licensing requirements, which we're going to retain for now, still in the informal invitation to comment posture. So I just wanted to make sure people were clear about those 2 different tracks we're now embarking on. We've had to break up our rulemakings in order to move things forward in a more efficient, phased-in approach. And I hope that that's helpful for the group to be aware of.
Okay, are there any more questions on any of these topics before we move into the roundtable discussion? Okay. So we did have just a question that came in. Is there a chance that the existing licensees will be subject to the assessment before the licensing backlog is resolved? No. Based on our current level of production, we expect the backlog to be done by February. So We are completing more than 100 applications a month now. And I will say, of our backlog, half of those, almost half, well, a third of those definitely are almost complete. They're in the final admin stages of completion. So yeah, we definitely expect to be done long before the assessment. Any other questions? Okay, you can go ahead and take the slideshow down then. Thank you. I'm gonna there, change my view so I can see the committee. Okay, so now we are in our roundtable, and I told you guys previously that you had 2 minutes each, but we are, I think we're doing well on time, so happy to have additional discussions. And as mentioned, if you could introduce yourself when you start speaking, we'd appreciate that. And also your name and also which company you represent. And is there anyone who would like to start? I see someone's hand up.
That would be me, possibly. Robert.
There you go. It's the one.
Hi, how
Robert,
are
yes.
you? Hey, I'll probably have to leave a few minutes ahead of the end of the scheduled ending of the meeting, but I had a question with regard to complaints, and this is a general one, but in how you can conduct and conclude a complaint. So for example, you get and people, I've been doing this for 40 some years, but people can complain about anything. And sometimes it's just a clarification. They don't believe us. You know, they're put in a position where they're afraid because they had a healthcare debt. And you know, hopefully, you know, one of the things we do is we say, well, look, if you don't owe a debt, we don't want you to pay a debt. We go through and we do everything we can to work with the person. And in today's society, people are more fearful over medical debt than ever. And so they contact you and they have a question and they think of it as a complaint, or you guys may even think of it as a complaint. But if it's not really a complaint, it's still registered as a complaint with you, is it not? If you conclude it as non-complaint, or it was concluded that everything was done properly, that's listed as a complaint. Is that, oh, by the way, Robert Tavelli, Tavelli Company, Tavco Credit Services. Sorry about that. So can you give us an update on that? On how that's going to be done? I mean, I mentioned the last meeting that the FTC registered. If somebody called up and said, can a collection agency accrue interest? And they said yes, it was still logged as a complaint because they didn't have a method of tracking it. Now, do you guys have a way of concluding that, gee, the agency did everything in its in the best interest of the consumer? Even the consumer was even happy at the conclusion. Why should that still be listed as a complaint?
Suzanne, I see your hand is up. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I do, just to have just some broader context about how we are updating our complaint handling system more generally now that we have actually a mandate to ultimately finalize regulations clarifying complaint handling procedures pursuant to the California Consumer Financial Protection Law, to which debt collectors are subject in part. So that's the statute, the CCFPL, mandates that we specify procedures, and we're in process. We have not done this yet, so it's kind of a more to come, but I'm just previewing for you, where we are mandated by the statute to set forth complaint handling procedures and also procedures for tracking complaints and inquiries. Right. So in the future, this is a future state. We're not there yet. I guess is one of many of our very hefty rulemaking packages that is still in process. We've gone out for a round of comment on it, and there'll be more to come on it, you know, in the near future. But we are seeking to develop definitions that do make a distinction between an actual complaint. Like,
Uh-huh.
I have a problem, I can't fix it. I think so-and-so is violating the law. That's, roughly directionally what I think a lot of us would probably colloquially agree is a complaint
Yeah.
versus I have a query about, how does this thing work? Or could someone do, that's right. That has a different flavor. And so we will be working on regulations
Okay.
to make a distinction between the two. We are going to, of course, need to build our back-end infrastructure to be able to track those things. There will be, again, in the future, not right now, but in the future, there will be certain reporting requirements on covered persons to track complaints versus inquiries. And so there will be a distinction being made, but that is, again, in the middle of the
Yeah.
regulatory process. And
Okay.
also we have, you may have discovered this, may not. We did also recently do an IT upgrade on our consumer-facing complaint portal with updated and better data fields. So we're also just improving our own internal data analytics functions in order to have a better understanding of what the trends are. So it's a fair point, and all this to say we're working on it, but we're
Sure.
kind of in the middle of moving toward a future state on that point.
I got you. So for example, and anything can even start out as a complaint. But what we found is that when we can get people to the table, they realize we're actually here to help them, because it's really about setting them up with the right payment plans. They were confused. We're very familiar with, for instance, in the healthcare field, what we need to do to protect consumer rights, because it's in our self-preservation to do it right. So our goal is, like, if somebody literally just says, I don't like the way they talk to me, and then they find out we were trying to talk to them, but we couldn't, then you guys facilitated even us working together, that can help us. So if we have a mechanism, and if you'd like some input on that when you get to that point, we'd love to participate in that. I've just found that most people, once I say, if you don't owe a debt, we don't want you to pay it. Let us see if we can help you. All of a sudden, that changes a person's attitude if you can have a communication with some people. So I was around when the previous bureau was here, and they actually did do that very well. And they would put people in touch with, have you talked to so-and-so there? Because we even would get communication from the DFP, not the DFPI, the consumer group, that said, well, you got a complaint. Well, nobody ever asked them, did anybody reach out to the agency as part of, before you file a complaint with the DFPI, did you contact the agency to try and work it out with them? And people aren't even sometimes taking the time to do that. They're using the system, and we don't want them using the system because that hurts other consumers. We helped write the identity theft bill several years ago because it was in our best interest not to be trying to collect from somebody who was a victim of identity theft. And then all of a sudden we became the heroes, not the culprit. And that's what we want to be. So if we can participate in that part of it, I think it'd be very helpful. So thank you.
I do just want to add a little, as far as how the complaints, the process. So when something comes into us, it goes to our customer service office. They then send we're just going to call it a complaint at this
Sure.
point, what came in to that designated email.
Sure.
So that's very important purpose of having that designated email, because otherwise we've had already, because we don't have the designated emails set up, that they don't go to the right person, right? And they're looking for a response. So the very first thing that happens is just facilitation of the communication. It does not escalate until after that, if it escalates. I mean, I'm done. That's a big if, until after we have facilitated the conversation.
Well, I have one follow-up question then. We had a consumer start with a complaint. Then we responded to it. Even the consumer called us back and thanked us for helping them afterward. And I think you guys really helped too. So my concern was, how do we know that the matter's concluded? I mean, we didn't get I was checking earlier, and I did not get a formal response back, other than I was told by one of your reps that was a good result. But I never got any notification of that. Is there some sort of formal notification that says the matter's concluded that you guys will be sending out? Not to us, but in general as a rule.
consumer gets something saying that we have closed the complaint, that you guys have responded
Exactly.
and we are closing they get something.
Yeah. Okay. They meaning the agency and the
Consumer.
consumer. What about the agency?
No, they have responded back, and if we do not contact you telling you your response is not adequate or
Yeah.
something, then
Okay.
it's
I mean,
because all we're looking for is you responding back.
yeah. Okay.
It's not,
I received a nice verbal communication and it was very, very pleasant. And I was fine with that. But it would be nice, when you're having to deal with something like that, especially if I'm a small agency, but as a larger agency, if you're finding a way to close your file in your office that it was concluded, that would be nice if there was some sort of a closure that, we have to copy the consumer with what we send you. Therefore, wouldn't we get a closing statement as well? And just a thought. And,
okay, I'll pass that on. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
So then there's a follow-up question from Rodney. I assume statistics will not be reported until those distinctions are made, distinction between the complaint and inquiry.
Right, then until there are final regulations specifying data that needs to be reported to us pursuant to an annual report, we will have no data to report. So that's all part of the regulatory process. So again, I don't have any updates to share as of right now, other than to say that a complaint handling regulations are in process. As soon as we are prepared to publish the next iteration of content for public comment, we'll blast that out just like we do all of our reg packages. So just make sure that you sign up to get emails from us, and you should hear about that shortly. And that will be an additional opportunity to comment. But that's kind of what we have for right now on that point.
Great. So if we can move on to another committee member. Someone else like to make comment? John.
Yes. Hi, I'm Sean Welch from PNB Capital Group. My question's more geared towards Mr. Thompson. I was wondering if the initial examination document request or questionnaire has been created yet.
Yes, we have a working copy. Would I say it's finalized? I wouldn't say it's finalized by any means. We're probably going to be testing it over the next 6 months to see how industry responds to it. See if we could kind of use common language amongst industry so that we get kind of repeatability with the information we get back to us.
If you wanted any assistance with that, I know some of the members of the committee would be glad to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. We had discussions earlier, we would even be willing to come in person, work with an examiner, anything that we could do to assist you.
Certainly. Yeah, I think one of the challenges that we have is that just because of the industry that we do regulate, it varies from agency to agency. So kind of coming up with set questions that aren't overly specific, but not overly broad, is kind of where we could use some help focusing our questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
You good, Sean?
Yes.
Okay. Cindy.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Cindy Auckland with States Recovery Systems. I just kind of wanted to maybe piggyback a little bit on Sean's questions regarding the examinations. If there is a template questionnaire that is already been drafted, can that be provided to the committee members so that we can have an opportunity to review and find feedback, compare it against other states that already have examinations and processes in place?
I would, yeah, not immediately, but hopefully sometime in the near future, we might be able to provide that. Again, I could tell you what we're doing is we're building off some of the other states and what their information request letters are. In my mind, I want to kind of break it up into kind of a questionnaire that helps lead the information requests that we're going to be sending to agencies. So you would ask a question. We would basically send you a questionnaire first, based on the responses we get from the questionnaire. Kind of helps focus in on the areas, specifically the information requests that we will get back from you. So making it more detailed and not overly broad. If you're not a debt buyer, why would I request debt buyer information from you? So
Correct.
To add a little to this, at this point, even though we are starting to do examinations, it's really slow. We still have 95% of our examiners only doing licensing. We are not rolling off people to do exams until our backlog is done, which also means I've got, 2 managers and a couple examiners that are doing licensing and trying to implement all the exam stuff at the same time. So it's coming out really slowly.
Okay, so totally understood. And, honestly, the questionnaire is a standard business practice amongst multiple states. So in industry, we are extremely familiar with that. Can you comment as to which states you've already considered looking at? I saw on your presentation that you were looking at SES as the portal. So does that mean that you're looking at Idaho, or is there another state that's in consideration?
So again, each state has different requirements as far as what we look at. So again, some states will have financial requirement, the state of California does not. So I wouldn't have that particular request in our IR letter. I can tell you we're going to be looking, Idaho would be one of the states that we would be looking at, as well as any other member state that actively participates in NACARA. So again, we're going through that governing body.
Okay.
And we don't actually have access to SES yet, so we can't see all the entry letters in SES yet.
Okay.
So once we have access, then we will look at probably all the different ones and, see if we can pull out the best from them. So what we are using right now is through NACARA and do it with their state participants.
Right. Got it. Okay. And you had mentioned that this was looking to start in 2024. How is the department going to itemize who goes first? Is it by license number? Is it, you had mentioned like red flag, but that's probably more for investigations or enforcement actions. How is this going to be determined?
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of random sampling and then risk profile. So risk profile is kind of a fancy catch-all term for size, complexity, level of complaints. And we already talked about some complaints just earlier, whether or not they're what we call legit bona fide complaints, but that would be kind of some of the data metrics we're going to be used. We might also choose to be focused on a specific type of debt or a specific type of agency and kind of get a better sense of how that particular segment of our licensees work, and then kind of slowly rotate to other focuses. But I would say the overwhelming majority of our exams are going to be kind of coming from a random sampling. So not picking on any one particular player.
Gotcha.
Okay. Scott, I think you were.
I think maybe Callie was first.
Oh, Callie was first. Okay, I was trying to get to where my list was. I haven't quite figured out.
That's okay.
But okay, Callie then. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Khalif Foxmiller. I am with.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. It's a hard name. I actually just, first of all, I want to say congratulations on working through that backlog. As somebody who worked my way through law school as a licensor, examiner, and then an auditor, I know that it is no easy feat to take on a new licensing project, and it requires all hands on deck and a lot of organization and a lot of determination. And so I just really appreciate that, especially in my role now where I do the licensing reviews of our debt collectors, I can tell you that it's working and you are getting through it. And I am getting more and more license confirmations on my end. For my comment, as somebody who has worked on your side, probably much lower than the level of the people who have done the presentations here today, I was wondering if there would ever be an opportunity for us to come down and visit the people who are actually doing the licensing and maybe answer any of the questions that they may have, to provide some advisory to them as well. I know that one of the things I learned, especially as an auditor, is talking to people in the industry guided me to know what questions to ask and how to kind of grow in my knowledge so that I was more effective in that role.
We are looking at some possibilities. So we had our first kind of training conference this year. And we did not have industry there. We did have a representative from the committee there. Desiree was there. We are looking at next year, yes, we're not quite sure how that's going to come about. But we do value that input also. And someone who has been I was a field examiner for 20 years. I learned mostly from talking to, my licensees and having them explain things to me. And I have to say, I still remember the day, because I was in banking before the big real estate meltdown, and I was asking, I don't know what, I was asking some question, and someone said, "You're asking me the wrong question. Ask me about my contractors." And I was like, oh, yeah. So yeah, no, I fully appreciate the input and the knowledge that you guys have to share. So we are just, as I said, getting into this concept of how to examine what we're going to examine and what we're going to do. And that will be a bigger focus next year. And we are planning on having more training, more focused in from our department. And I'm also NACARA is going to be probably in Sacramento next year. So if any of you guys have not participated in that, we invite industry and we have roundtables and we discuss have a lot of open conversations, and that will be, I don't have the date yet, but that looks like the NACARA conference will be, our department's going to host it next October.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Scott.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thanks. I'm Scott Hyman. I'm the shareholder with Severson and Werson. I'm in Orange County. Thank you again for the privilege of serving on the committee again for another term. Coming back to the scope regulations and the conversation very, very early in this call, that there'll be another set of proposed regulations issued, hopefully in a couple of weeks or soon thereafter. But that the department would be open to possibly a third round. And I thought since certainly there was a lot of public comment with regard to the last set of scope regulations, I thought it might be helpful for sort of everybody on the call to explain a little bit about how the interim proposed regulations work before versus when it's a final proposed regulation that you're intending to send off to Sacramento, and how, with regard to the scope regulations, this next round that's coming up, will we know which category that falls into?
Sorry, can you ask that one more time? I didn't quite understand.
Right. So you're issuing, proposed regulations, but at some point they will be final enough that you will decide to, through your administrative law rules, to send them to Sacramento, right? But in the conversation at the beginning of this call, the suggestion was there will be one more round, but you would be open to a possible third round with respect to the scope regulations.
I
So,
see. Okay.
yeah, so when this next round comes out, one, how do we know which this is? Is it interim or is it the proposed final rule?
Sure.
And then secondly, if it is a proposed final rule, maybe just like, a minute on how that process works, where the final rule gets sent to Sacramento and becomes the regulation itself.
Yeah. So as Suzanne, discussed earlier, it's a little bit, we recognize it's a little bit confusing because we have standing up a new program, we have different sets of regulations going on kind of simultaneously. So what I mentioned was with the one that we expect to come out any minute about scope, well, not any minute, but very soon, about scope, that is going to still be a pre-filing draft. So that is going to be, you're going to have an opportunity to comment in writing, and then we'll also, as was mentioned earlier, have another meeting like this for the committee specifically to talk about those. If we get all of the comments, and we expect or hope, or, it's possible that will be the last set of pre-filing comments. Then what we'll do is we'll notice formally the rulemaking. And at that point, you'll have an opportunity for formal comments. So there's a lot of public participation. This is still the pre-notice round, and then we will, if we don't do another pre-notice round, we'll do the formal comments. And then once the formal comments are provided, we'll make there's the possibility of doing additional revisions, but then you have that 1-year time frame that was discussed earlier. And so that will be, as the name implies, much more formal, and the timing will be more of the essence at that point. And then it will go, once we have what we view as the final text, that will then get approved or sent for approval to the Office of Administrative Law. And then they have a time, they have their own very specific schedule for when regulations become operative after they've received them and approved them.
That was perfect, right? Just to sort of explain to all the folks.
And then what I said I was
informal and the formal process.
Perfect. Okay. And then what I said we were open to earlier was outside of scope, outside the scope of scope. If you have other sort of concerns, not you, anybody has other concerns or issues or clarifications really that need to be made, that could be done in yet another separate, that would be a separate rulemaking. So.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other committee members that wanted to talk? I'll let you, Cindy, but I was going to let a couple of people who haven't spoken yet have a chance.
Thank you, Melinda. It was just a follow-up question to Emily regarding the additional, proposed rulemaking. If the committee has ideas to submit, what should we just submit those directly to the department in written form? Is it something that we should just add to the next agenda of the DFPI committee meeting? What's going to be the preferred medium?
Yeah, I think raising it here is a great way to go. If you have other clarifications you think need to be made, you can raise them here, and adding it to the agenda is fine if you want to send Melinda a message. Colleen, I don't think we have a more formal way that they would ask for that. Do you have any other suggestions if they have ideas of other clarifications that are needed?
Yeah, I think within the advisory committee meeting is probably the best forum to have a discussion about it, especially if it's related to the scope rulemaking. I'm assuming you're thinking it's not, or else you would just comment within the umbrella of that rulemaking. But if it's with the fact that we are in a pre-notice period, meaning we have not yet published the rules with the Office of Administrative Law, published, not final filing, but published, this is the period where we can have more interactive conversations. And so this advisory group is the perfect vehicle for those conversations. We're not confined by a regulatory process that requires we include everybody in our comments and discussions. Not that we don't want to include everyone, but we can have a more interactive conversation in seeking input for purposes of moving forward with any rulemaking through this advisory committee. So my recommendation is that we get your topics on the agenda for the advisory committee meetings.
Thank you. Angela.
Yes, Angela Rebecca from Equably. Again, I guess I just like to stress, as your team members are going through the process of, creating the examinations and questionnaires, or, going through and trying to outline the complaint portal and trending. I think every committee member would, love to have the opportunity to help with those proposals, provide insight, before going out to market with those pieces, and sharing the questionnaire and having an agency or a debt buyer work through those kind of pieces. Like, we can work through those together as a committee, prior to that going out. So just like to share, we'd all like to, have an active opportunity to take a look at that, providing these suggestions and, what works and what hasn't worked in the past with all of our industry experience.
Great, thank you. Desiree?
Hi, everyone. Desiree Wynn-Orth. I'm the director of the Consumer Justice Project at East Bay Community Law Center and UC Berkeley School of Law. So obviously I'm not with industry, so I don't have a lot of concerns right now for my office in terms of compliance. So a little quiet on this end. One thing I did want to note in the draft questions for the annual report, I'm not sure how, if this is unclear or not, but with regard to section 2, over owned debt, the second entry, total dollar amount of accounts purchased in thousands during the year. I'm not sure if that question is clear enough or unclear, but the phrasing, if you're taking suggestions, I was thinking maybe total dollar amount paid for purchased accounts in thousands during the year. I'm not sure if that is something that the question was going for. It just seemed a little bit vague.
I muted myself. Sorry, Emily. That would be one of those things you should know, because it is phrased exactly the way the law says. So that is the one thing about doing this annual report this first time. I think we are going to end up hashing out a lot of data and determining if there are other things that we need to clarify in future rulemakings. So. Are there any other comments from the committee? We still have 5 more minutes in your section, or we can move on to Cindy.
Robert here. Just a quick comment, I think, to clarify what Cindy was saying, and it sounds like you're very open to the committee's comments, and I just wanted to clarify, sometimes it might be better for your department to have advanced information. Obviously, you're going to put things on the agenda, but as far as once those rulemaking and the information's out there, to submit something to you in advance might give you an advantage or an advanced knowledge of what we're thinking, and it may help us work together when we get to the committee meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I believe that's a bit of the Emily's intent. We had already discussed that.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure the timing of our next meeting allows you guys enough time to have gone through it and gotten comments so that we can then discuss it. So Emily and I will be taking that into consideration when we pick our date.
Okay.
Cindy?
Just food for thought, maybe for the next committee meeting, as it pertains to, you know, rulemaking and maybe a topic that we can discuss as a group. Because the debt collection industry, as Suzanne had mentioned, falls under the large umbrella of the CCFPL. And the rulemaking that was originally proposed regarding complaints and that process encompasses a very diverse group of businesses. The debt collection space, however, is very specific with the way that we have to address consumer complaints. And it's certainly not apples to apples when you compare it against the other businesses that are bound under the broad umbrella of the CCFPL. So maybe it is, you know, topic for discussion that a complaint process and or rulemaking should be parsed out from the large umbrella of the CCFPL so that it's applicable only to the debt collection space, such as a definition between a complaint and a request for validation. So maybe just, you know, topic for discussion going down the road.
Yes. I have a little note for next meeting I'll look into that. Robert, I don't know if your hand is still up or is it up new? Okay. Okay, then if Sunday, if you could put the slide up for our public comment period. If there, oh, or Sergio. If there are people, because if we had people that called in on the phone, this would be the time. If you do have questions or if you wanted to make a comment, you can do that now. And if anyone also, if you wanted to raise your hand, we can open up now if you have not already gotten your answer. I'm looking, I just noticed that there was a Q&A that I missed. Okay, so the question that, sorry, I can't quite get, oh, there we go. Can you please clarify on which material business collecting license umbrella? Okay, so the question is, can we clarify on which business materials you need to include your license number on, and is license number alone, or is there a statement or identifiers that should be included in this disclosure? We will get back to you because I do not want to try to answer that one off the cuff. So we will send that back to you. If there's other people who need additional clarification, if you could put it in the Q&A, because we need it in the Q&A to actually get your information so that we can respond back to you. And is there any, and I haven't, no, the chat looks like it's empty. And are there any other hands raised from my tech team that I've missed?
I don't notice any hands raised.
Okay. Oh, was there a reason that only one person in the advisory committee was included in the training? We had a consumer, we invited the one advisory committee meeting, a person who was our consumer advocate and local to where we were having it. There was not any particular reason why we did not ask anyone else to do training at this point. I will say though, as a group, we have we interact with industry more often. So we do speak at the industry groups and we do interact with them. Consumer advocates, we have not had as much interaction with, which was my intent on why they were invited.
Yeah, I'll just add that our presentation wasn't really related to anything with the licensing or the process coming up. It was really more about what we're seeing as service providers.
Yeah. It was more about what they do. You see this consumer advocates as well. I help consumers all day long. We can see agencies as consumer advocates as well. We help consumers all day long. It's just not how we classify. Yes, you help consumers, but that is not your main business intent. Your intent is that you're part of the industry, you're the debt collection industry. So it's not I guess a label that we it's just to identify. There's not a meaning behind that label or a stigma or anything else. It's just some people, it's what business you're in. Okay, I do not see any other questions then. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we will be planning on having a meeting we think it will be January, but it will primarily be based on what is the best timing for the committee to be able to provide input on our scope rulemaking package. And the recording of this meeting, if anyone is interested, will be on our website. I'm sure by the end of this week, since this is a Monday, we should have no problem having it out this week. So if there are no other questions, I thank the committee for your time and your input. And you will hear from us in a few weeks about the next meeting, and we'll be sending out gov deliveries on the on the annual report. We'll send out one this week announcing it, and then just so everyone knows, we're sending out the main instructions in December. This week is just to get people out there and aware that you have to get your designated email if you want all the annual report updates. So it's just more of a reminder to keep doing that. And please, if you have any difficulties getting that designated email, please contact our DCLA inquiries. And we will help walk you through it and find out what's going wrong. Okay, well, thank you and see you next time.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.